Hey guys, what's up? So I'm actually going to express my anger at this, and you need to take into account my point of view rather than think, oh, all these poor people are in these situations. I consider this to be incredibly stupid and reckless. Many people have deliberately travelled outside of Britain. They could have their various reasons, some potentially for religious reasons, some to volunteer, some to work, and some for maybe placement years from university, um, and sometimes to visit relatives. Now, with the situation, this has been going on for a while. It started in China in January, and it got to Italy by, I think, February. From this point, we've seen how it's spread. We've seen it becoming much worse, it becoming a big problem. I remember first it was kind of them, it was China, Italy, it was South Korea, it was Iran was a big place, a big concern at a time. So people have had lots of warning. What this makes me feel is incredibly angry for a couple of reasons. Firstly, the UK's death tolls aren't really going over a peak. We're having this weird situation, unlike many of the other countries, where we're seeing figures go up and down, up and down, up and down. So we had 1 week which was particularly bad. There were cases for, I think it was like mid-April, and slash the early bit of April, where we were getting close to 1,000 deaths a day. That was what our recorded figures were. Bear in mind, this isn't counting care homes. This is basically all hospital deaths. So if you count the care homes, which I think they're going to start doing from today, then you would easily have over 1,000 a day. Now, in that situation, we've started seeing reductions. We had a couple of days ago 300 and something, and we've had 400 and something deaths. And now it's gone up to over 500, I think it was 568 as of yesterday. So as you can see, it's gone down and gone up. Our biggest threat is from people coming back to the country. We don't know, for example, how India is dealing with its residents and how these situations are ongoing. We don't know how many people are infected. India is a massive place. And I'm not just referring to India. I'm referring to anyone who's stupid enough during this situation to have travelled anywhere outside of the country. I think the government have to say enough is enough. We're not letting you back until the situation is dealt with globally. I would cite the situation with New Zealand, where they have about, I think it's something like 19 deaths. They've been able to do a lot of the contact tracing. They've been able to deal with their situation so much better. And I would compare us to New Zealand for one reason. We are an island. As the EU likes to say, we are a tiny island, which means we have a body of water. So we can separate ourselves from whomever we want. It's just as easy to ban all flights as it is in the cases of places like New Zealand and Australia. Why we haven't done that is a question as of for itself. I would blame the public and the government. The public are screaming at the government to get this sorted out. But personally, and I don't care if I'm being selfish, I don't want these people coming back. They could have it, they could be asymptomatic, and the second they come in to the country, they could infect thousands more. These people are idiots, and unfortunately, they've taken this decision on their own. I do not care if they are losing money, if they're in a financial situation they've put themselves in. And also, according to this, there have been issues surrounding violence against foreigners. Now, from India's point of view, I can completely understand. You're having people fly in from countries that still have this virus, who are not your national people, who are potentially going to have it to go into your health service, which are taking up space for your native, for your nationality. Why should these people come? In the same way, I, over here in England, am outraged that people are coming here who should not be here and are using our service when they haven't paid in, and we're getting thrown to the back of the queue. So let's just have a look at this story. Brits in India feel forgotten as thousands still stranded. Right, so thousands of British citizens, many of them elderly, are still stuck in India a month after the country went into lockdown, the Foreign Office has admitted. Some have been running out of medicine, or have been scared to go outside amid reports of violence against foreigners. Relatives and MPs have called for more urgency in getting people home, asking for more flights to be organised. British authorities said they were working hard to get people back. So this is an example of a person. This is Pamela Sharma, 49, from London, who left the Punjab at the end of January with her parents. Again, an example of clear stupidity. This was starting to get rife within China in January. So her ego and her selfishness is the reason why she's out there, and she shouldn't be helped. They were due to come home on the same day flights out the country were stopped. They have not been offered a place on a repatriation flight despite registering and paying. Now, from the point of view, okay, from the paying, if they're not going to be able to get back, reimburse them the money. But at the moment, you are low priority. Miss Sharma has colitis and needs to use a colostomy bag. Both her parents are in their 80s and have blood pressure issues. She believes these conditions have been made worse by the increasingly hot weather and lack of air conditioning at the holiday home they have been living in. It's India. It's hot. Where do you think you're going? Sometimes I really don't get these people. I know we're not in a hotel or running out of food, but my life and home are back in the UK, she said. And if anything were to go wrong, I don't want my parents to have to go to a hospital here. We've all worked all our lives and paid taxes. I think the government just needs to pull its finger out and get us home. Personally, I don't agree with that. I think you made the decision at a time where we could see its kind of course happening, and that your selfishness has put you in your current situation. Now, this person, Amanpal Man, 31, from Long Eaton in Derbyshire, returned home last Wednesday after weeks of waiting to hear if they would be flying home. So he's one of the so-called success stories. He went to the Punjab in early March. This is even worse because this is the times where we've seen other countries get heavily infected. Therefore, he is more stupid than the previous lady. When official advice said it was still okay to travel, he ended up stuck with his mum, 59, and granddad, 89, who had only a few days' medication left for kidney disease. We felt forgotten, he said. The other countries got their people out. We're the last ones left. I still know many people left behind, and it's disgraceful. One woman who is still in India but wished to remain anonymous told the BBC she had flown out with family in early March for a 10-day trip to take her mother's ashes to a Sikh holy place. Again, many of these holy places have shut down. For example, Israel's discussed this. Parts of Iran have also taken this into account. So I'm surprised they were able to go to the holy place. She said they had faced hostility from the local population and police, who she said believed they had brought in the virus. To an extent, I would agree with that. You're not making the situation any better, because The reality is even their own citizens probably brought in the virus, but you're actually adding to the population, which means you're probably contributing to that kind of sentiment. It's not an attack on foreigners, it's a protection for their own nationality and their own nation's health, which ultimately means their anger towards you is justified, and had to find replacement medicines which were causing side effects. I do not feel safe here, she said. The repatriation process started too late and is taking too long. Some of my family are vulnerable and others like myself have young children at home they need to get back to. We need more flights and we need them immediately, and they feel abandoned. So they're working around the clock. The lockdown began in India on the 24th of March, and the first British repatriation flight left Goa on the 8th of April. I will say, for clarity for some people who are not of the UK, we went into a soft lockdown. I think it was sometime in where is it? We went into like a soft lockdown on the 20th of March. This is where the London Underground was kind of reduced its stations by 40 of them. So the stations that don't have any interlinks with other stations were kind of cut off. There was a couple of them down my way. I was concerned at the time that I might not be able to get home in time. But we went into like proper lockdown as of the 23rd of March, which was the Monday, so the day before. So we're kind of similar timing to India, just slightly before. Since then, 10,000 people have been returned to the UK, according to the Foreign and Commonwealth Office, but at the beginning of the crisis, it estimated 20,000 people were stranded there. On Friday, there were 6,900 people on the waiting list for a flight just from the Punjab, although the FCO stressed that this number was constantly changing. Since then, 3 flights have left the region and 10 more across India were scheduled to leave in the next week. About 300 people can leave on each flight, but they have to pay hundreds of pounds for their tickets. Jan Thompson, Acting High Commissioner to India, tweeted to say it was the world's largest lockdown, and clearance had to be sought for each person from multiple authorities over large areas. A spokeswoman for the FCO added, "This is a huge and complex operation, and our consular teams are working around the clock to help thousands of British travellers to get home from India." I would say another issue we have is we don't have a very well established foreign embassy. We don't actually it's not well funded in this country, therefore you're asking a lot for a tiny organisation that has never had to kind of deal with this. Therefore, to expect you instantly to get a magic flight home isn't going to happen. These people need to take into account the selfishness they have had, and unfortunately, if they're getting attacked by local people, they only have themselves to blame. In the future, maybe stop being so selfish and actually have the decency and the common sense to use your brain and not go travelling because you don't need to. What do you think of this situation? Do you think they should just be left out there, or should they be repatriated immediately? Leave your comments down below, like the video if you enjoyed it, or even if you didn't, give it a dislike. I'm not too fussed on that. People will have varying views on this. I just think it's incredibly selfish of these people. And don't forget to subscribe.